We are saying goodbye to Red Dragon Archfiend.
Aye! Subscribe.
It has been 1 year, 5 months, and 2 weeks since we first picked up the Crimson King structure decks with the goal of building Red Dragon Archfiend from the ground up to be as competitive as possible. I think we achieved that, you know? In a world where RDA has no business competing with the top dogs, we were stood at the front lines resolving Crimson Gaia, man. But yeah, now that I'm a Blue Eyes gamer, I thought I'd give RDA one last chance to shine at the UK's most competitive events. YCS Birmingham and the Manchester UK Open. We're going to talk about how we did, how we adapted the deck, and give our absolute final deck profile, so let's get into it. First though, shout out to these massive legends for supporting the channel. They got early access to this video, hell yeah. Alright, so YCS Birmingham. This is the first time I've been to a YCS in so long. I think the last one I went to was YCS London. I can't remember the year. I think it was like 2 years ago or something. But yeah, this event was really smooth. I really enjoyed the event. There was no issues whatsoever. The venue was great. It felt like we were moving through the rounds at a really nice pace. I had no issues with like cheaters or like no judge calls or anything like that. It was just all around a great event. I loved it. For this event, I was made a bounty duelist for the first time. And if you don't know what a bounty duelist is, essentially we're given a stack of tokens at the start of the tournament. And then every time we lose a round, we give our opponent a token, and our opponent can then go and exchange that token for, it was 2 packs of Supreme Darkness. And then for every round we won, we got to keep a token, and so essentially it was just free packs all round, you know, win-win. A couple of extra souvenirs in my pocket, you know, I kept one of those tokens for myself. It's super rare, man, it's really cool. But yeah, getting into our performance at YCS Birmingham. So the list we took, okay, so this was the last list we posted on YouTube with all the bestials, and we changed the list a little bit. This was a 43 card list, and we ended up playing this. So this is a 42 card list. We cut down on a Druisworm and a Baldrake. We also cut down on a Vision Resonator because you can get away with one, right? The second one isn't needed. It's just nice when you're in like a kind of grindy state and you need bone to like send Vision for another copy of Crimson Gaia, things like that. So we played with just one. I also put in the 3rd Droll instead of the 2 Droll we were playing, and then I added in Prosperity because the most important thing was seeing both engines, right? That's the most important thing when it comes to Centurion RDA. If you see both engines, you can play through so much stuff. So Prosperity was essentially like a 8th starter in the deck for Centurion, but it could also just grab a hand trap at the end of your turn, etc, etc. I don't think this list is perfect. I have updated it since then, and we'll get into that profile later. But yeah, this is essentially what we played at the YCS. It was fine. The ideas were there. It was just like kind of a mess in terms of side patterns and things like that. I will explain some of the nicher interactions when we get to the deck profile, all the like super important stuff. But yeah, getting into our performance at YCS Birmingham. So, round 1, we play against Voiceless. We win the dice roll, and game 1, we were allowed to just combo. We see both engines. We don't get interrupted whatsoever. We make our full board. We're feeling good. To be fair, Voiceless almost broke it because they opened like 6 engine cards. I was like, okay, surely you don't have another starter, I'll interrupt here. And then they had another starter, and I was like, okay. But eventually we did win game 1. Game 2, I'm looking at my side deck. What do you put in against Voiceless? None of this works against Voiceless. I was like, okay, I'll side in Strike going 2nd because nothing else here is particularly useful. So yeah, game 2, we open all Centurion and no non-engine, which just doesn't play through a full Voiceless board with like the Seravis and things like that. And then game 3, we get Fuwood and we get Impermed. We're still able to set up like a kind of half board, and we had Droll in hand, so that essentially just stopped them from taking it. And we won round 1, so that was great. Round 2, we had a feature match against DB Grinder. I do really want to talk about this feature match, so we can analyze that real quick for some gameplay. Alright, here we go. So our round 2 feature match against DB Grinder. We win the dice roll and we're going first, so that's great. And we open a hand of Trudea, which is super awkward, Ash, Veiler, Nibiru, and Crimson Gaia. In terms of comboing, we have the choice to go through Trudea, or we can Crimson Gaia add Soul and go through the RDA line. However, Both of those lines would lose to an Imperm or essentially any hand trap. I choose to normal summon Trudea because at least if Trudea gets Impermed, Crimson Gaia can add Fiendish Golem, and that's an additional interruption. It also just plays much better into things like Nibiru and Fuwalos, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Anyway, Trudea resolves, we place Primera, summon the Primera, and Primera effect a search. That goes through as well. So we're able to get to the field spell, and the field spell requires a discard, which is another reason I went down this line, because Crimson Gaia can just add Vision, which we can pitch for free to still get to the Fiendish Golem anyway. So we activate the effect of Crimson Gaia, that resolves, we add Vision Resonator, DB Grinders reading every Resonator card, understandably so. Also, can we just take a minute to acknowledge the disrespect in the title of our deck? Centurion Bestial, mate! It's Red Dragon Archfiend, man. I literally said it was called Centurion Red Dragon Archfiend Bestial. But yeah, whatever. We activate Stand Up. Stand Up pitches the Vision to place the Gargoyle, and then Vision's gonna trigger after to grab the Fiendish Golem, and that all resolves. So we're in a very good position here. We've got Ash, Veiler, Nibiru in hand, which is already really good. We've got all of our engines set up, you know, plenty of follow-up. We have Crimson Gaia right there, Centurion to pop off. Fiendish Golem is really good at dealing with Ryziel plays in the fact that it can just remove Duo Drive or Detonator. So we most likely win unless our opponent has like a super good hand. I will say like X Ryziel into stand-up Centurion is really annoying because it just turns off all your Centurion plays. But yeah, we proceed to summon Gargoyle as a level 8, and on resolution Fuwalos is dropped, meaning if we synchro summon, our opponent is going to get one draw, and I think one draw is a fine price to pay for the sake of getting to Cosmic Blazar. Even if he does draw into an Imperm, it's still fine. We still have 4 interruptions plus follow-up and whatnot, so we just go into the Centurion Oxala, Chainlink 1 Oxala, Chainlink 2 Gargoyle, and our opponent gets a singular draw. This is one of the situations where you might think playing Centurion Phalanx would be really good in the deck, and yes, it would improve our end board, but it's another brick in the deck. It's not needed. So we add another copy of the field spell, and that does give away that we're on like a minuscule Centurion package, but it's totally fine. We set our Fiendish Golem, proceed to the end phase, and Oxala is going to place back the Primera, and it's over to DB Grinder's turn. He starts off with another copy of Fuwalos, which is funnily annoying because we do Synchro Summon on our opponent's turn. But we don't Ash it because hopefully our hand traps are enough to make sure that we don't have to use our extra deck, and worst case scenario, we can just summon Legatia and give our opponent one draw. So that's fine. He then follows up with Fiendsmith's Tract, which is also fine. That's going to get to Lurry. We have Ash to essentially check the Fiendsmith engine. There's also an argument to just make Legatia here and get Lurry off the field. However, I don't want to give him any draws. So I let him make the Requiem and activate the effect of Requiem, where we do drop the Ash, essentially going 1-for-1. He normal summons Ice Ryziel, and I kind of want to force him to have the extender in hand, so I hit that with a Veiler, and then if he is going to extend past that, he needs either Sword or X Ryziel. If he does have an X Ryziel, then that's going to turn off stand-up, so I immediately have to follow that up with Legatia. That removes the body and essentially gives us both a draw. You could argue there's no need for us to do this because Fiendish Golem and Nibiru just checks the rest of the Ryziel combo anyway. But yeah, we clear the body. Our opponent has Nibiru, Node Ryziel, I think another Ice Ryziel, and another card in hand as well. And they just attempt to go at the end phase. We get back both of our Centurions in the back row, and they scoop it up. So we essentially win game 1 against DB Grinder on stream with pure Centurion, which is funny. Game 2 is where things get a little weird and technical, because it's not just haha me stop you, haha me play. It's like you have to sequence your non-engine correctly, and it's too early for that shit, man. So we're going second, and I open up a hand of Magnamut, Ash, Meows, Droll, and Bone Archfiend. There's like a million different ways to sequence this non-engine, man. Like, Meows is only good on turn 1, Droll is arguably also only good on turn 1, but they conflict. DB Grinder starts by activating Engraver to add Fiendsmith Tract, which is like the prime moment to drop Droll and Lockbird. Not only does it turn off the Tract, but it also prevents him from searching with any of the Ryziel effects, meaning the only way he can get to Detonator is by normal summoning Ice, or, you know, having 2 Ryziels in hand. He does go on to normal summon the Ice, and for some reason, I don't Ash it. I don't know if I'm asleep at the wheel or if I'm thinking he's going to go into, you know, Exiton into Requiem and we can just Ash the Requiem, but bro, literally if I just Ash the fucking Ice, we probably win. So he summons the X Trim deck, overlays for Detonator, activating the effect to attach the Engraver from Graveyard, sets 1, and passes turn, where we draw Crimson Gaia. We've kind of blundered our way to a very rough spot, but the game is arguably still winnable. The only thing we can do is normal summon Bone Archfiend and activate its effect, targeting itself, hoping he pops it with the detonator. If he does that, we're still able to dump a Vision Resonator and add Fiendish Golem to out the detonator, and then Meowls, Magnamut, and Ash will definitely stop his next turn. However, in order to play around talents, he just throws the Imperm at Bone here, and that is essentially going to turn off everything we could have hoped for. Kinda sad, but the game is also still winnable. Passing turn, our opponent starts off with the tract that they searched last turn, and that's going to add Lurry to discard Lurry, and then activate Lurry's effect to special summon itself. Linking into the Requiem, he activates the effect where we chain Ash, and he chains Detonator, detaching the Engraver to pop the Bone Archfiend, making our Meowls live. And this is where we make the big final mistake that essentially loses the game. So he activates Engraver, shuffling back the Lurry. I'm 100% supposed to chain the Meowls here. It's the only time we're going to get a draw, right? And if I'm already struggling, you probably Ash the Meowls, right? Instead, we go Chainlink 1 Magna, target Engraver, Chainlink 2 Meowls, which just isn't going to draw anything, and then on resolution, effect of Magna to search, that gets ashed. That was our only hope getting into Druisworm to get rid of the detonator, and then from there it's just a slow burn until we eventually lose. So literally, throwing the game, man. Wake up. Alright, game 3 going first. Let's claw it back, baby. We have an opening hand of Sweeper, Crimson Gaia, Bone Archfiend, Ash Blossom, and Centurion Gargoyle. Of course. Why can we never just open the Centurion spells, man? Starting off with the Stone Sweeper, we add Soul to hand, and then normal summon Soul, who gets hit with an Ash Blossom. Not being able to add the Flame Crime means we're not going to be able to make a super strong board. We're not going to be able to get Red Rain plus Abyss. Instead, we have to follow it up with the Bone Archfiend line, which is going to be Abyss plus Fiendish Golem on the end board. So we send Gargoyle to grave to summon Bone Archfiend from hand, and on resolution, Fuwalos gets dropped. I have seen so many people confused as to why I don't Ash Fuwalos here. Ashing Fuwa is wrong because we cut the bricks, right? We're not playing Crimson Resonator or anything like that, so Ashing Fuwa does not increase the ceiling of our board by enough for us to play into Nibiru. If we still had all of the bricks in the deck like Crimson Resonator and Synchron Resonator, then yes, we could go full combo by ashing the Fuwalos, but in this situation, it would literally just be trading the Ash in hand for Abyss on board, and that loses to Nibiru, it loses to talents, and it gives our opponent full knowledge on what to play around. So instead we have the Ash in hand and the Fiendish Golem because we go Bone, send Vision, and then add Fiendish Golem. So setting 1, we pass turn, and we need these 2 interruptions to be enough to stop him. If it is enough, then we win on the follow-up alone. DB Grinder starts off with Bonfire, adding Ice Raziel. You can probably make an argument to Ash here, which I didn't. He then pitches Engraver to add Tract, that's fine, and activates Tract. If I'm going to Ash the Fiendsmith engine, I might as well Ash here so that the Engraver doesn't become live as an additional body, but I don't Ash, and he adds Engraver, pitching Lurry. I end up ashing the Requiem, which obviously just isn't enough, and it's just unwinnable at this point anyway. The best chance to win was just ashing the Bonfire, using Fiendish Golem to out whatever the Fiendsmith engine gets to, and then praying that the last card in hand isn't anything spectacular, but it was an X-Raziel, so we were losing either way. Honestly, it's kind of deserved for throwing game 2 so hard, and it's all my fault for, you know, not drawing a Centurion spell. It's always Gargoyle or Trudea. Okay, so moving on from there, we're feeling pretty tilted. You know, it never feels good when you lose a round, not because the deck was bad, not because your opponent played super well, but because you made a stupid mistake that cost the entire thing. Or like a series of stupid mistakes. It was, it felt really bad. Going into round 3, we're tilted. We win the dice roll against Fiendsmith Bestial. So we're going first. We get double hand trapped, and we prosp away the Quibelt, but later on in the duel, it turns out we actually need the Quibelt, so that was awkward. And Droll in the main deck, not very good against Fiendsmith Bestial, so yeah, we lose game 1. And then game 2, we get double hand trapped again, so we're not able to get any of our engines online, and we both have Bestials, but our opponent has Lubellion and Regained, whereas we have like Baldrake and Druisworm or something, so we essentially just lose the Bestial grind. So we're 1-2, and this is quite common for me. Like, I'll always play terribly in the morning because my brain's just not switched on. Locals in the evening is totally fine because, you know, it's in the evening, you're awake, stuff like that. Yeah, tournaments that start early, just, I'm really bad early on. So we need to get an energy drink and whatnot. Going into round 4, we lose a dice roll to Fiendsmith 6 Samurai. We open 2 hand traps. I'm pretty sure I hand trap the Link 2, and then whatever extension they have past that, and then that just ends their turn. So we OTK them. And then game 2, we open Fuwalos. We activate the Fuwalos, it resolves, and our opponent tries to play into it, because it's 6 Samurai, you know, they can't really set anything up without summoning from the extra deck, so they kind of have to, and we just draw into enough to break the board. So, very clean 2-0 for round 4. We're 2-2. Let's go to round 5. We lose a dice roll to Mitsurugi Raziel. Game 1, we open Valor and Nib. We're feeling pretty good. I drop a Valor on the summon of King of Feral Imps because if you chain it to the effect, they can chain the quick play spell to tribute it and dodge the Valor. So I Valor on summon, but later on they're able to summon it back out and then resolve the effect. And my Nib gets cross-outed. So they make full board, can't play through that, fine. Game 2, I side for going second, forgetting that I just lost. But I win anyway, so it's fine, but that's just like how unswitched on my brain is, and like tilted, brain fog, etc, etc. Really bad. Game 3, Joel essentially skips their entire turn. We're playing, we get hand trapped like twice, we're still able to end on Abyss, and our opponent has 1 card in hand. Mitsurugi need 2 cards to play. We have a negate on board. Like, this game is ours. We win. But their 1 card in hand is fucking a cross-out target, Ultimate Slayer, which turns off the Abyss, and then they're able to just play from there. So it is what it is. We'll take that loss. Sure, Mitsurugi Raziel, yep, very scary deck when it pops off. We need to win every round after this if we want to make it to day 2, and even then we're not guaranteed day 2. It's been a pretty rough tournament so far. Let's continue. Round 6, we lose a dice roll to Fiendsmith Raziel. Game 1, they go first. Our Valor gets called by it, and they make the full board, so it's over. Game 2, we're going first. We make a half board through a hand trap or 2. We have Solemn Strike as well, that wins the game. Game 3, our Fuwalos gets cross-outed, but Nib ends their turn. They follow up with Talents, draw 2, which is, you know, a pretty desperate move. They don't draw anything, and we're able to set up and take the game from there. So, we're back on the win streak. Let's go. Round 7. We lose another dice roll to Fiendsmith Primite Bestial. Game 1, they're going first. We Valor the Aether Barrel, and then we Bestial the Alexandrite Dragon, I'm pretty sure, and we're able to grind out the game from there. Game 2, we hand trap them again to prevent, like, a big combo. They do set up Lubellion and Regained, and then on our turn, they draw an Ash off the Regained, which actually manages to stop our push for game, and then they claw it back with the grind. So game 3, we're going first. We get Drolled, and so have to set up a half board. You know, Droll isn't incredible against our deck, especially with the Flame Crime variant. And then we grind it out. So we get the win for round 7. Round 8, we win the dice roll against another Fiendsmith Raziel. We get Impermed, Valored, and Ashed, but we're still able to set up a half board, and we have Droll in hand as well to stop them from pushing, so GG. Game 2, they called by my Fuwalos. Dude, my Fuwalos keeps getting stopped by like cross out and called by and stuff. But they don't see any Raziel cards, it's just Fiendsmith, and they end on Caesar. The thing about Caesar is that it negates spell and trap cards that have an effect to special summon, rather than effects. So your Centurion monsters in the back row can still summon under Caesar, and so you can out Caesar very easily if you have access to the Centurion engine, which we did. And from there, we're able to squeak out the clean 2-0W. You love a 2-0, man. If it doesn't come down to the game 3, you're feeling good. But yeah, that was the second last round of the day. Final round, we're up against Fiendsmith Malice, and we win the dice roll. Game 1, we get Fuwood, so we normal soul add Vision. Centurion stand up, pitching the Vision. We don't actually make the Oxala, we just set up Trudea and Primera, so we have the pop, dumping the Vision gets us to Golem, then we have a bunch of hand traps in hand. Our opponent wasn't able to draw any cards, and we have enough to just win the game from there. Game 2, we Lancia them, but they go into the Fiendsmith engine, Caesar pass, once again, we're able to play through that with the Centurion engine and play it safe to dodge Nibiru, but because we played it safe to play around Nibiru, they're able to combo on turn 3 and win the game. Game 3, we called by their Fuwalos, which feels really, really good. It's finally not happening to us, we're the one doing it. And then we win in time. Our opponent gets to their main phase when time gets called, and they could just accept the draw, but they tried to play for the win because you can gain life points with GWC. So they pay life points with their Malice effects to try and resolve GWC, and we're able to stop their whole combo. So by them paying life points, we win in time. So that gives us a 6-3 record overall. The deck is good. It can compete with the good decks if you see a like good ratio of your cards and you don't fuck up. We did miss day 2 by 1 point though, which was unfortunate. First time I've not qualified for day 2 since starting the game. I figure out what changes we need to make to the list, and then we come back swinging at the UK Open. The UK Open is the same format, but the format has shifted, if that makes sense. So before we get into the tournament report for the UK Open, let's get into the final deck profile of Red Dragon Archfiend, and then I'll show you the main combo as well before we get into, you know, the Yap Sesh. Alright boys, here we go, the final Red Dragon Archfiend deck profile on the channel. This is the list I took to the UK Open, which was the same format as YCS Birmingham, but somehow there were some meta developments where with the increase in Bestials, people moved away from Fiendsmith Ryziel and started playing pure Ryziel, and then the rise of things like Fire Kings, Crystron, Mermail. Bestials just don't feel as good as they did, so we've cut all the Bestials, and anything else interesting that comes up, I will let you know. So, let's get into the deck profile here. Starting off with our Red Dragon Archfiend engine, we of course have 2 Stone Sweeper, we're playing 2 Soul, 2 Crimson Gaia, we got 3 Bone Archfiend and Foolish Burial back in the deck. Of course, we want all of our cards to be as versatile as possible, and so having our starters that double as extenders is actually, you know, quite important. So say you open Soul plus Bone, Soul gets Ashed, you can still combo with Bone, etc, etc. While they are also just full starters by themselves, we're back up to 2 Vision Resonator. You can get away with 1, it's just like super awkward. So yeah, I've put that back up to 2 for now. We of course also have the Flame Crime and the Red Rain and the Fiendish Golem. Again, I have been playing with Black Goat Laughs, but I just don't think it warrants a spot in the deck, you know. I was playing it with Droplet, but I cut Droplet and I cut Black Goat. So yeah, just the Red Rain and the Fiendish Golem for engine traps here. As demonstrated earlier in the video, Fiendish Golem is great just to search as an additional interruption if you're playing like super low to the ground with just Centurion or things like that. It's also really good against Ryziel going first. But yeah, that is it for our Red Dragon Archfiend engine. Moving on, we bridge the 2 engines together with a Pot of Prosperity. And then for the Centurion cards, we have Terraforming, triple Stand-Up Centurion, and triple Emblem of Oath. Of course, it is crucial to see both engines, so we want to max out on all of the good Centurion starters. Then we have, of course, Trudea and Primera. Seeing Trudea is kind of annoying if you see it alongside access to Soul, but at least you are still able to, you know, make some kind of play with the Centurion starters there. And then, of course, we have the main brick of the deck, Gargoyle, which you'll see in every opening hand, because that's just how Yu-Gi-Oh! Works. We love it. That's it for the engine. No Bestials or anything. Getting into the non-engine, we are playing a 44-card list. We have 3 Fuwa in the main deck. I was an advocate for having this in the side, because going first and then getting interrupted and having a dead Fuwa in hand was really, really annoying. But, you know, you lose a dice roll, you open Fuwa, you're feeling pretty good. We also have triple Ash, triple Imperm. Also, maining Fuwa just opened space in the side deck, which was really, really important. Then I was also on 3 Metaltronus, because this card is so good. Generating an additional body in the deck is really, really nice. Maybe you can pair it with like a Bestial or something for additional applications. But you can hit so many things with this, like Primera is a light spellcaster that hits Blue Eyes and White Forest. Something like Q-Belt, you know, Dark Dragon, pretty good. 2500 Dark hits something like the Abelstar. And then we had some additional extra deck space as well. So Metaltronus has some additional applications that we will get to. Then also 2 Nibiru, 2 Ghost Ogre for the Rise of Blue Eyes, 1 Talents, and 1 Thrust for the non-engine. I wanted all of the non-engine to be applicable to both the Malice matchup and the Ryziel matchup. All of this is really, really nice. Of course, the non-engine kind of adapts to the format, and this is 18 non-engine and 44 cards. So, you know, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. It is honestly a pretty targeted list for Ryziel and Malice, but that's kind of a given going into a competitive event. So for the extra deck, we have Red Rising, of course, Q-Belt, Scarred, Red Dragon Archfiend. We got Abyss and Dispatter for the Red Dragon Archfiend extra deck cards. Then for the Centurion cards, we have Oxala, Legatia, Crimson Dragon, Cosmic Blazar, and Trishula. We're not playing Primera Primus anymore because we dropped the Bestials. That meant we went into the card a lot less, and therefore it became really, really cuttable. And then I also noticed I was very rarely summoning Supernova Dragon because it just loses immediately to Talents. The only time it would ever come up was like turn 3 or 4 when you're only playing with the Centurion cards, which very rarely happens. So we dropped the Supernova Dragon. That's 2 spaces in the extra deck. I was still playing the Chaos Angel and the SP Little Knight. Very good with Metaltronus, by the way. You can break a board easily. Like Metaltronus, summon Q-Belt or something, and then go into SP Little Knight, and then play from there. That is 13 in the extra deck. For the final 2 spots, I wanted to, you know, give us some proper blowouts against Ryziel and Malice. So for Metaltronus, we have the Detonator and the White Binder. I am also playing Ultimate Slayer in the side deck. We'll get into that in a minute. So, you know, we need an Xyz for Ultimate Slayer. and, you know, a good link to send rather than losing her SP Little Knight, I guess. Yeah, Metatronus is a very, very good card. And then moving on to the side deck, we got 3 Droll. I am very scared of things like Mermail, because if you don't see Fuwalos or Droll, then it's pretty much curtains unless they brick. It seems like a bricky deck, apparently. 3 Lancia, of course. 3 Meowls. We're not playing Chaos Hunter. Chaos Hunter is really bad against Malice because they started to adapt to Chaos Hunter. They started playing Nightmare Cerberus, which just outs it. Some of them are on the Sky Striker engine, which outs it as well. Talents outs Chaos Hunter. You're having to discard to activate it as well, so Meowls is just the much better option, even though it can get ashed. But, you know, 6 cards that are really nice against Malice, of course. We have 2 Ultimate Slayer in the side deck, as well as a second Thrust. I borrowed an Artifact Sanctum. That was the only trap we set with Thrust going first. In the side deck anyway, against Malice. Against anything else, we of course have Imperm, or we have Red Rain, or Fiendish Golem. Like, Thrust set Red Rain if you got stopped somewhere is really, really nice. Fiendish Golem, you know, pretty good. And Imperm, you know, it's an option. And then finally, we have a Duster. You can thrust into Duster. Then we got Call by the Grave as well for the 15th card. Of course, side deck, extra deck techs, and main deck non-engine can always change. You can adapt it to the format. But for the main engine list, because non-engine is so important in this format, like, you need to be able to beat Raziel and Malice. Playing it kind of minimally and somewhat low to the ground and not playing like a bunch of bricks, I feel is super important. Yeah, I feel like this is the best version of the deck we've played to date. All right, I figured I haven't actually shown the full combo in this build yet. It's pretty simple, that's why, but I figured I might as well include it in this video as well, just while we're here. So yeah, assuming we want to play around Joel, we are always going to start with a Soul here. So normal summon in Soul, of course we have access to both engines, that's the key part. Soul is going to add a Flame Crime, so that if we get Drolled, we can still essentially go full combo with no issue. But yeah, continuing from here, we'll activate Stand Up. Stand Up is going to pitch the Vision to place the Trudea. Vision is going to trigger here, adding Crimson Gaia. Trudea effect a summon as a level 4, so that way if you get like double hand trapped, you can still make Q-Belt as an interruption. Trudea effect, placing itself and Primera, and then we can go effect of Flame Crime to special summon itself. Effect to burn for 800, so if we're in game 3 going first, you know, we win in time, let's go. Synchroing these two into the Red Rising, we go chain 1 Red Rising, chain 2 Flame Crime, unless our opponent is like maybe thinking about holding Ash. If you don't think they have Impulse, you know, there's things to consider, so you can do your chain link accordingly. But yeah, Red Rising is going to target the Soul, so we play around Bestials. Countless times I've had an opponent chain a Bestial here and then be like, oh wait, Soul's Fire, okay, target Vision, I guess. So yeah, we summon the Soul, and we of course dump the Red Rain. This is summon number 5 right here. So if you're going to get Nibiru, your opponent probably reads Red Rain, realizes that you're going to Synchro Summon, so they'd have to Nibiru you here. But they might also realize that you still have Centurion stuff, so they would wait until the end of the main phase. So let's say we go into Abyss here. Red Rain is going to trigger to add itself back to hand. We're going to set the Red Rain, activate Crimson Gaia add Golem, place a Golem, and pass turn. So we have Abyss plus Red Rain, which is super strong. Golem is just additional if we have something like Vision or Crimson Gaia in hand. And then the Centurion setup is going to, of course, get us to the Trishula through Crimson Dragon. However, if we do get Nibiru, whether it be end of main or, you know, on the Summon of Soul, it makes no difference. We still get the same result. This can be our Nibiru token right here. So continuing on through the Nibiru, we go Primera to summon, Primera to search, Gorgoyle. It's going to send a field spell to special summon itself. Synchro these two into the Oxala. Chain 1 Oxala, chain 2 Gorgoyle. We can activate the second field spell, end phase. Oxala is going to place back the Primera. And of course, Red Rain is still live through Nibiru. So instead of Abyss, we essentially trade it out for the Crimson into Cosmic Blazar. Still have the Omni Negate, still have the Red Rain. Then of course we have the Golem and like any additional hand traps that we may have drawn as well. Very, very strong. There's not a whole lot that can stop this combo. You need at least 2, maybe even 3 hand traps. And they have to be like very specific ones as well. But yeah, if you're able to set up, you like absolutely just win the game, and you don't need the bricks. You can drop slurs in the background, don't worry.
You'll keep the back door.
Alright, getting into our performance at the UK Open. This event was hosted in the Etihad Stadium, which is the home stadium of Manchester City, which is honestly very jarring as a Yu-Gi-Oh event. Like, you know, not the target audience, but it was very cool having the pitch as the backdrop. Like, imagine having a duel on the pitch, that would be so sick. Yeah, getting into the event. So round 1, we got paired up against White Forest, Fiendsmith, Azamina. We win the dice roll, so we're feeling good. Game 1, we're going first, and we open full combo against no hand traps. Easy dub, boys. Game 2, we open Fuwalos and Metaltronus because there wasn't enough cards to side out and in against this deck that I had to keep in like 1 copy of Metaltronus. It actually didn't do anything because they dodged it. So we Fuwalos them, and White Forest are really good at playing under Fuwalos because they just set up back row. Then when I tried to Metaltronus their Silvera on my turn, they dodged it with a droplet. So kind of got cooked, game 2. Game 3, we get Fuwad on my turn, so we set up Oxala with Fiendish Golem. We have Droll and Ogre in hand, and then we have a Talents, which doesn't do anything because we get Fuwad in the draw phase. Then on our opponent's turn, they Fuwalos again, kind of like our feature match against DB Grinder, and we actually ended up winning because, I mean, we had Droll, right? We had plenty of interruptions. So round 1, in the bags, baby. Round 2, we get paired against Melodious. We open Fuwalos, so we drop that in the draw phase, and they're like, say less. They just start just playing into it, give us like 4, 5, 6 different draws. They start off with like Ostinato and make their end board of Aria plus Schuberta and the Etoile. I think it's Etoile. How do you say that? Etoile? Etoile. Yeah, they gave us so many draws that we're able to just like completely nuke their board and destroy them. And then game 2, we both draw all non-engine. Our opponent sets 1 passes. We top deck Emblema Oath. We get barriered, but Emblema allows us to put bodies on the field to start pushing for damage. And yeah, they just don't draw engine. So we win. 2-0, baby. Round 3. We're sat at table 3. We're at the top tables for this one. And we lose the dice roll to Fiendsmith Ryziel. We open Ash Imperm, but our Ash gets called by it, and Imperm alone isn't enough. So, you know, unlucky, feels bad, fine. Game 2, I open all RDA engine going first, including the Red Rain, so there's no point going through Flame Crime to get to anything that doesn't increase the ceiling of our board. It means we lose to Nibiru, so I just end on Scarred with Red Rain and Golem and Droll in hand. That's enough to win the game. We played around Nibiru, it paid off. I don't know if they actually had Nibiru, but you know, it didn't matter. Game 3, we activate Fuwalos in the draw phase. It resolves, and they are forced to end on Detonator and nothing else. I have Metaltronus in hand as well. So Metaltronus clears the Detonator. They have an empty board. You just go for game, right? But I'm like, if I go for game, if I put lethal on board, I lose to Nibiru. So I don't go for game, and they're able to play on turn 3 and win. Similar to round 2 of the YCS against DB Grinder, where we just threw the match. We've just done that again. Man, stop being scared of Nibiru, okay? Game 2 playing around Nibiru was smart. Game 3 playing around Nibiru when game is literally on board right there, just go for it. So we have the early tournament throw, which tilts you and skews your mental for the rest of the tournament. Unfortunate. We go into round 4. We lose the dice roll against Bestial Malice. We open up Fuwalos, but it does get hit with a Called by the Grave. Again, that's now happened twice, man. Like, we're getting sacked by Called by the Grave. Come on. We have Metaltronus, but it gets ashed. Great. Okay, so all of our interruptions got stopped. Game 2, we get ashed, but we're still able to go full combo, and we have Metaltronus set. We win. Game 3, we activate Meowls, which makes them end on a very subpar board. We have an Ash for TB11, which pretty much just ends their turn, and then we OTK them through an Ash Blossom. I think they ashed like Crimson Gaia, and then I was just like, okay, normal summon soul. Round 5, we win the dice roll against Mitsurugi, Azamina, Fiendsmith. Very interesting pile deck. Mitsurugi is actually scary, like, regardless of whether it's Raziel or any other variant. We just open RDA engine, so we have to pass on Abyss plus Red Rain. If they have Nibiru, then we lose, but they don't have Nibiru, thankfully, and we win. Game 2, our Fuwa gets hit with an Ash. We imperm the Sagi, and they thrust for D-Barrier. My only engine is Oath, so we're not able to Synchro Summon, but our opponent doesn't have a whole lot either. They have 1 card in hand. They draw a second card. Their 2 cards now in hand are Mitsurugi Ritual and a Mitsurugi Ritual monster. They top decked into their 2-card combo, and now they're able to just go ham and win the game. Game 3, we're going first. We get Ogred on the field spell. We don't have Emblem at Oath to protect it. Then we get Ashed on Soul, so we're not able to set anything up. We set Imperm, we have Ogre in hand, we pass turn. Our opponent has 4 cards in hand. They start with Diabellstar. They now have Diabellstar on field plus 2 cards in hand. Do we Imperm the Diabellstar or not? I'm thinking I have Ogre, we can just Ogre Deception, right? They go Diabellstar, set Deception, activate Deception, they hard drew Hallowed Azamina. And now they're able to play through everything. Bro, how am I getting sacked by a brick? Like, come on, man. But yeah, so we lose round 5, unfortunately. Then we go into round 6. We're against Bestial Malice and we lose a dice roll. Game 1, we open 0 non-engine against a full Malice combo. We top deck Fuwa, like, we just lose. We're able to go full combo uninterrupted, so that's GG. And then game 3 is, like, super interesting. We open double Lancia, Meowls, Fuwalos plus engine, so it turns into a wild grind. After like 4 or 5 turns of just completely stopping my opponent, I'm finally able to make a decent board and come out ahead. Looks like we're gonna win the game. Then we get cooked by Nib. Okay, I got Rely on Called By plus Imperm, but we still just get domed because we'd run out of Lancias and shit. So yeah, 3-3, round 6, like that's a drop, man. I was tired, I was tilted after that round 3 throw. The sad part is it's not even the deck's fault. Like the deck's good, the deck is so toppable, bro. Like if you play perfectly, you can top easily. The issue is that you have to play perfectly with all your interactions at all times, and that's just like, man, I don't have the mental capacity for that. Sometimes you gotta just rely on the deck carrying you a little bit, and you know, I'm hoping that's what the Blue Eyes deck is gonna do because it feels so good to play. Either way though, both events were super fun. All my opponents were super chill. I met so many people, so many of you guys came up to me, which I really appreciate, man. Like behind the screen, you don't feel like you're doing anything special, and then having people come up to you like, oh, can you sign my Red Dragon Archfiend? I really love this, blah, blah, blah. I don't really know how to word it, but that gives you so much motivation because you're able to take a step back and realize you're like actually doing something good. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. Like I literally wouldn't be here doing any of this probably without you guys. But yeah, that's it for Red Dragon Archfiend. It's been a fun journey. Sad we couldn't get a top with the deck, but you know, it is what it is. Hopefully the deck gets some broken support in the future and we can maybe revisit. But yeah, thanks for watching and I hope you're buzzing for the Blue Eyes journey.